What is the third age? Many people ask. The third age is when a person can officially call themselves a senior citizen. And this group is growing rapidly as Malaysia gallops towards being an aging society. I'm Evelyn Samuel from the Third Age Media Association. Because this group has got tremendous social and economic impact, and we produce a monthly magazine called The Senior, and we have our senior people here today to interview the world's oldest elected leader, who is also Malaysia's Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Conducting the interview today are the founding president of the Third Age Media Association, Mr. Cheah, and the editor of the Senior magazine, who is Datuk Muslim Ayu.
Very good morning to you, Tun.
Good morning.
We thank you for this opportunity to, despite your very busy schedule, we understand. So we are very grateful. Myself and Datuk Muslim, I'm Mr. Cheah, and Datuk Muslim, he's our editor for our magazine. We are from the Third Age Media Association for KL and Selangor. And my first question to Tun would be, now that Malaysia will be reaching an aging nation soon. In 2020, we will be having something like 3.6 million of people above 60 and above. And 2040, we will be reaching something like 8.2 million. It's expected, these are the numbers. So what are the plans government has for this group of people, which is growing rapidly now?
We have been adjusting the age of retirement because people now are more healthy, and even after the retirement age of 55, they are still able to work and function well. So that has been adjusted to 60 now. And in many countries now, they don't have a retirement age. For as long as you can work, you work. So that means that old people will be able to continue earning a living and not be dependent upon pension. Pension, of course, is not enough, and they are going to live for a much longer time. So pension cost is very high because people live long after pensionable age. The other thing is, of course, that we worry about is if these people don't live and be pensioned off, then the place will not be vacant for younger people. This is something that we need to study. We don't want to deprive younger people of opportunities for promotion. Having taken that into consideration, we have to think in terms of caring for the old people. Normally, old people, families like to leave old people in homes and all that. It's not very good for the old people, but we need to have some facilities to take care of old people, especially as when they cannot function well, they become senile and all that. So these are big issues that need to be tackled systematically.
So just like the Council of Eminent Persons, I mean, they have so much to contribute to the nation. Now, there are seniors who are like that currently, who are able, willing, and committed, and they are still very healthy. Now, we always complain about shortage of English teachers, for example. Why not we tap into this group, I mean, who are, they are passionate about the work. It's not about the money, So they are willing to give to the nation. So can we provide a platform for this group?
Yeah, we have stopped using English as a medium of instruction for a very long time. So those who are familiar with the English language are now very, very old, unable to function well. Also, their numbers are very small, so we cannot really depend upon them. But we may be able to depend upon them for certain programs that will have to be thought out. But the old people must be kept busy. They must do something. I believe that if you retire and you just don't do anything, you will soon, fade away.
Yep.
See, so we must find some things for the old people to do, or even to entertain them. See, this is where the social workers need to study the needs of old people.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if they don't do anything, they are mentally not engaged, they tend to fall sick very quickly.
Yeah.
And this will add to the medical cost to the government,
Right.
So that's why we need to really get them into good health, we know that nowadays we have families struggling to take care of their parents. What is your advice especially to these seniors who cannot take care of themselves, and parents, the children are also not taking care of them. They also don't have enough savings and whatnot. So what is your advice to these people?
In the first place, we should delay the age when you become senile and unable to look after yourself. And that can be done by keeping people active after being pensioned off. The tendency is, of course, for them to just do nothing. And that is bad, because when we do nothing, we don't exercise your muscles, your body, and you don't exercise your mind also. When the mind is not exercised, it behaves in the same way as the muscles. The muscles regress, the mind also regress, and then you become quite useless. That is why it is important to get them to actively participate in talks, discussion, group discussion and all that, so that they will exercise their mind and they will talk about things, their observation of things. This is good for the mind. And the tendency is to feel weaker and weaker, and you want to sleep. When you sleep, of course, the muscles do not function, and they begin to become very weak. And as they become very weak, you have a tendency to sleep more. And so you will regress both in mind and body. So that is my belief. It's not backed by any scientific studies, but that is my observation since I was practicing as a doctor many, many years ago. That it is important to be active. You see, so the society must create means by which they can be active, participate in certain things, do charity work or whatever.
Quite a number of seniors, they work very hard in the early days, but unfortunately they wasted their money, when they retire, because they are not well. They pay a lot of hospital bills and to see doctors and whatnot. So do you think it's important that seniors must also have some form of Medicare, that when they can start contributing when they are young, so that they are insured?
Yeah. Well, that is something that will happen eventually, because most developed societies have got some funds to help old people, people who are unable to earn a living and who needs to be taken care of. That thing can be done by way of insurance contributions while they are still working. It's almost like the EPF, but the EPF, I think the amount is not very much, it doesn't last very long. And on the other hand, old people tend to live longer now. So that is, again, an area that we have to study what other nations do, especially the developed nation, because we are going into that area where there is an aging population. So how do you look after them? It's not just a question of giving accommodation. We need to keep them active, because if they're not active, then they sort of fade away.
Don, following from what you said, I understand Australia, the government of Australia have got a Ministry of the Aged Care. Before it was part of the Ministry of Health, but since 2008, I think they have turned it into a full ministry with a minister to look after the aged. Shouldn't we be thinking in that line?
Yeah, we should be thinking. I think it is not as urgent for us as it is for the old communities of these older countries. We are still quite a young country. But gradually we are moving into this old age problem, and we have to study what other people do to get some ideas, so that when we can afford it, the important thing is that whether you can afford it, because what will happen in any society with an aging population is that the younger people must make more money, and they will have to pay taxes. Then the government will have the money to look after the old. Because families, children, grandchildren do not like the idea of having to look after very old people, especially when they are senile. They like to put them in old people's homes and all that. And that is traumatic for the old. So as far as possible, we should try to get the family to continue looking after the old people, and maybe with some government support.
Yes, the third age people with this, in other words, having reached 60, you enter into the third age until you pass on. So these people can still contribute, and as you said, if they contribute, they can also be paying taxes instead of just burdening the young people to pay taxes to support the old people. So their energy and their experience and their knowledge should be harnessed again, and so in that sense, there is a need to really look into that area by some organization within the government, of course, with the support of the the third age organizations like ourselves and all that.
Well, as I said just now, we have raised the pensionable age from 55 to 60. That takes care of another 5 years of these old people. As again, in many countries, they don't have a retirement age. They continue working for as long as they can continue working. That is another way for keeping them still active, earning an income for themselves, so that they can look after themselves. That is some way. But not everybody can do that. There will be some who will be prematurely old, and for them there is a need to look after. So some form of government support will have to be devised. But government support depends on government finances, and government finances depends upon taxes that are being paid largely by young people. So you cannot avoid that, because young people have an obligation to look after their old people, but they are not up to it, and they expect the government to look after their old parents, so they must contribute towards that. So what they are paying by way, say, some funds like the EPF, but mainly in the form of taxes to the government. The government, as you know, has created SWAP, which is a fund for old age pensioners. That may be extended to cover more people at an older age.
We are now in the digital age, and I know that you have been the one being very spearheading Malaysia into the digital age with your Super Corridor and Cyberjaya and various other things. You're also a blogger. That was a great example to the senior generation. But actually, how much has been achieved really in terms of getting the senior generation into the technology era?
But older people are resistant to changes. They are very resistant. They cannot believe what they can do with today's telephone, for example. Before, when you want to record things, we have a tape recorder, a very big machine, and you know that it is being recorded on the tape. Before, it was recorded on the the usual round record that we use for our gramophone. From gramophone to tape, it's not too big a change. But now there is no tape, nothing, just a small piece of instrument, and it records everything and memorizes everything. So for old people, it's very difficult to accept that this is possible. So we need to retrain old people to accept new technologies, so that, especially those relevant to management of old age. For example, if they cannot move, now we have this signal or bell which is not connected to any wire. You see, so he can call for help as quickly as possible. And there should be some modification of designs for our toiletries and all that, so that they fit with old age. As you know, for disabled person, the toilets now have got these rails that you can hold on to. So this is looking after the disabilities of old age, and that will reduce their need to always depend on other people. They can do still a lot of things. For example, they want to move in a supermarket, you can have a wheelchair that is controlled by electricity, and all you have to do is to press a button and you can turn corners and all that.
Yeah.
So all these things are devised to cater for old age, and with the technology that we have now, I think we can provide a lot more to ease the life of old people. Now you can even, talk to a machine and the machine will respond. If you can't move, you can talk If you can talk, but you can't move, but you cannot talk, then you can make use of your fingers, even your legs can be used.
Yeah. Digital technology is supposed to go make the general paperless society. In other words, no more paper. We save the forests, save the trees, and all that. But actually now I notice that the need for paper seems to be increasing. For instance, for our magazine, people still wants to read the printed version rather than looking it up on your laptop or on your smartphone, accessing the internet for it and all that. So in other words, there is a need for rethinking about this paperless society.
But there is no doubt that we are using less hard copy. We are using the telephone or the computer to read even the latest news. In fact, the telephone gives you immediately, just as it happens, you can actually see on the telephone. So more and more, the young people are turning to telephone. They don't want to read. And the printed words is not something that they like to see, having to hold up a book and all that. They just, so as people age, the use of paper will also be reduced, because the younger generation are the ones who embrace technology, embrace the digital age, and they know that you want to buy something, you just press a few buttons on your phone, you have a list of the products, you choose the products, and then you can even order where the products will be sent to you, and you pay electronically. So paper is not involved, no checks are signed. So over time, the use of paper will diminish. But as the population increase, that diminution is percentage-wise high, but in terms of absolute amount, more, not so much, because the number of people using paper would increase because of the increase in the population.
Yeah. Now I would like to ask also about your third car project. I mean, as an engineer, I of course understand what you're after, but there are many negative sort of reactions to it. So I believe that you will need a good group of people that are really supportive, and this group could be the MIGHT, MIGST, Malaysian Industrial Group for High Technology. They can really get what you have in mind moving by getting together, getting the various organizations, the government, the universities, and industry to really work together to get it moving. So MIGHT has been quite dormant over the past number of years. So are you going to really reactivate it?
Yeah, we have been given a briefing, and I think MIGHT can play a big role to explain to people and to support industries. Industries can grow only when people accept it. The normal person is a consumer. All he does is he wants to have goods that are cheap and of good quality. And he invariably thinks that imported goods are better coming from the well-known countries. But if you do that, you will become only a consumer and you will need money. But if there are no jobs created, then very quickly your money will be finished. You don't have any money to buy imported goods. But if you have local industries which create jobs, people earn money, then only they can afford to buy goods. But should they buy foreign goods or local goods? That depends upon the policy. The consumers just want to buy cheaper goods. The government has to think about the development of the country. And the development of the country must include a capacity to produce things by yourself. If you are just buying from outside, the money is flowing out. But if you produce things by yourself, the money stays in, and you can even bring money in through exports. So government's view of things are quite different from the consumer's view. So it is the consumers who are not happy with this. But the government feels that there is a need for us to acquire engineering capability. Engineering here means that you have to produce things by yourself, manufacture, produce and sell goods to other countries so that there is an inflow of money. Outflow of money is always bad for any country. So that's the government way of thinking. The consumer's way of thinking is quite different. That is why they object to having a third car, because that means that maybe you will have to impose taxes and to protect the infant industry. But if you look at some countries which have become very well known for their engineering capability, manufacturing, like Japan, Korea, and China now, you see that they are keen to produce things, not to buy things from outside. They want to produce things and export what they produce to earn more money, inflow of funds. So those countries have made progress. The countries we say, well, we cannot do this thing, we better buy from others, they will never make progress.
I think not only produce, but design as well. We must be able to design something, and real innovation using all the technologies that are at hand.
Tun, something personal. Many Malaysians are amazed with the kind of energy that you have. So we want to know what drives you, especially to come back to full-time politics. I'm sure there are reasons. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah. Like everybody else, when I decided to resign and retire, I wanted to have a good life, enjoying life, perhaps going via cruising or whatever. But as soon as I stepped down, people came to see me, asking me I should do something for the country because they see a decline. Politically, economically, there was a decline. And this can be seen by everybody. So they say, please do something. That's why I became active again. Eventually, doing something involved myself participating in politics, taking a major role in politics. That is why, that means also that I am active. I think a lot, I have to argue and all that. That keeps me active. My brain is active. My body also has to be active because I have to move here and there to give speeches. I think that is good for the body. And see, that you think all the time, you study, you read books, you write letters, you write articles, you write for your blog and all that. These are activities which keep your brain active all the time. And that is good for the brain. And the body also, when you move around and use your muscles, you don't lie down because the tendency always is to sleep. When you feel tired a little bit, you sleep. And then you feel comfortable, you stay in bed for a long time, and then the whole body weakens. That is bad.
In fact, someone was saying that you look younger now because of all the work and you have a mission to achieve, I guess. Now, there's a saying that behind every successful man is a woman. Now, Tun Siti Hasma has been with you for, she's your soulmate. She's been with you for so many years. And somehow you managed to balance your time with family and work. So we want to know more about how you managed to do that.
Yeah, my wife always says that behind every successful man, there is a wife, not just a woman. She objects to that. But I think we learn to be tolerant. At first, of course, when we were young, we have differences, tensions and all that. But as you grow older, you realize that you cannot change your partner very much, and she cannot change me very much. And we learn to accept that this is what the person is like. You have to be tolerant. If you are tolerant, then you can be together. So I spend my time mostly in politics. She accompanies me, although she's not involved in politics. She accompanies me. And if I have to leave her because I have she tolerates it. On the other hand, I tolerate her certain idiosyncrasies that she might exhibit. So I think there is a need to be tolerant, and I think there is a need to consider the feelings of your children. You know, it's a disaster for the family when the parents separate and marry again and all that. The children will never have a good life. So you have to feel concerned for your children.
Yeah, you have been very successful in raising your children. They are all very successful people. And so what sort of values do you think is important? Especially nowadays, a lot of young people are always pursuing wealth, neglecting business ethics, So I feel that, we feel that through the education system, we have to inculcate values like on the old days when you have filial piety and all those, which is very important. Otherwise, the young people will lose track of what is good values. And that's why a lot of parents are being abandoned. What are your views on this?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about values. I believe that it is values which determine whether a person succeeds or fails, whether a country succeeds or fails. It is the value system. Physically, we are all the same. In terms of our capacity, there's not much different. But the values determine how we behave, how we do things and all that. In the old days, of course, values are implanted in children by the parents. But nowadays, parents are too busy. Mother and father will be working, no quality time spent with the children. So the implantation of values must be done at the school level, even at the kindergarten level, because when they are young, they are more receptive. So if we have a good program to implant in our little children the good values, then they will grow up to be, morally correct. They show respect to old people, to their parents and all that. And I think they will become people of good character who are most likely to succeed. For example, the need to work hard. This is very important. People are not stupid. It's just that they don't do any work, and of course they don't produce anything. But I have always watched the Japanese, for example. After the war, they recovered very quickly, and the reason is because they have a great pride, a sense of pride for their own country, and a sense of shame. If you do something that is bad, you feel ashamed of yourself, including committing harakiri. if you fail. So they want to avoid feeling ashamed of themselves, which means that whenever they do something, they want their product to be recognized by people as good product, quality product. Then they would feel proud. But if they produce things that are of poor quality, then they feel ashamed of themselves. So these are values which we have to implant in our children at a young age. And since the parents cannot do that anymore, we have to have this in the schools. So in the schools, we are going to change some of the curriculum in order to include some kind of shaping of the character of the people at a young age. Of course, some people may say this is a kind of work camp and things like that. You are trying to brainwash the children. But we are all being brainwashed. We are brainwashed by our community, by our parents all the time. And when you are washing the brain in a good way, I think that should be accepted.
So on the education level, you do agree that we need to do some, reformation to it,
Oh, yes,
especially to inculcate values.
I think, we have to include the molding of the character. You see, you give knowledge to somebody, but you don't shape his character to use that knowledge.
Right.
And he uses that knowledge for bad things. The knowledge can be used for good or for bad. I always compare to the knife. You have a knife which is sharp. You can use that knife to carve beautiful things. You can also use the knife to kill people. It's your decision. So if that decision, if it is in the mind, the knife is in the hands of somebody of bad character, then his usage of the knife is going to be bad. But if you teach him good character, then he will make full use of the knife to carve beautiful things and to do good things. You see, so that is what shapes a person. I believe that physically they are the same, capacity-wise they are the same, but it is the value system. If the people are hardworking, obviously they are going to succeed. But if the people are laid back, lazy, postponing everything, they're not going to succeed in life.
So Tun, do you have any more achievements you hope to achieve? I mean, your bucket list, as so-called. Maybe you can share some with us.
Any more? I think I have a lot of things to do now, because the country is in a very bad shape. It is indebted by trillions of dollars, and then the government machinery has been spoiled, and we have to rebuild the government. Put in place good people and all that, retrain them, and bring them back to serving the country, serving the people and the country, not serving one particular person. So this is a job that I have to carry out, and with my friends, of course, in the government. But I happen to have more experience, perhaps because of my age, perhaps because I was Prime Minister for a long time. So I know what will happen if you do something that is wrong, and I know what should be done in order to achieve certain objectives. So I have a very big job to do at the moment. It's occupying my whole day, weekends. I don't have any leave anymore. I don't. Sunday or Monday, Saturday I work. At night I have to work also to finish, because when I come to office, numerous people come to see me, a whole string of them, the whole day. So I cannot have the time to write, to read even the letters that were sent to me, and some people complain that I had not replied to their letters. It's just impossible, because I have a backlog of about 6 months correspondence. I'm trying to my best to finish, but I just cannot, because I also have to see people, talk to them, explain things to them.
Just amazing. I mean, there was a comment saying that you wish to have 36 hours instead of 24.
Yeah.
So, you have any?
Yeah. Finally, Tun, thank you very much for having us here. As you know, we will be having a conference in October on the 6th, for which you will be the keynote speaker. We look forward to your coming and maybe some good news from you. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope to be able to contribute something because of my experience, very long experience, 22 years as Prime Minister, and now again as Prime Minister. So maybe my experience can be useful to a lot of people. I'm quite happy to tell about them.
So in conjunction with the National Day tomorrow, I mean, do you have a message for seniors? For seniors?
One thing about older people is that they had experience. Young people have got ideals. Old people have got experience. You cannot just be based on experience. You cannot just be based on ideals. There should be a marriage of the two assets that we have, the old people and their experience, the young people and their ideals. So they want to build a great nation, a great society. But there are certain things that stand in the way, and they need to have the experience of the old to inform them that this can be done, that cannot be done, and all that. So I think for the old people, their contribution would be their experience, because this country has changed tremendously. I happen to live from the time when we were under British rule. I experienced living under Japanese rule, under Thai rule, and then only back to British military, and then civil administration, and then only independence. So I've gone through many phases in the development, in the progress of this country, and they tell me a lot of things. What I observe, they teach me from experience. As you say, experience is the best teacher. And see, the young people cannot experience. They were born at a time when the country is already fairly well developed, and they think that, well, of course it is like this. Well, it is not like this. Before it was not like this. You see, this is something that they will not understand or appreciate. So they need to appreciate the past. You know, I like to quote George Santayana, who says that those who forget the lessons of history will be condemned to repeat their mistakes over and over again. So the old people must remind the young about history.
Especially those who have gone through the wars, you know.
Yeah.
I think the experiences was really, you know, the young people never have experienced this. No? So, no, they just, it was just a waste.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Tun, for your time. I mean, I'm relieved that you have a lot of pressing needs, national issues to address. So we thank you very much for your time, despite your busy schedule.
Thank you.
And there you've had it. You have heard the views, opinions, aspirations of Malaysia's Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, giving them to the Third Age Media Association.